Starseed of Gaia, you are receiving this because your system is ready. Your vessel is undergoing a precise cellular recalibration in this moment, not by force, but by alignment. I am Anya, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light. What follows is a direct transmission from the Arcturian Council, delivered without distortion. Before we go deeper, let me say this clearly. What you've been feeling is not a failure of your mind or body. From here, the Arcturian frequency can be received without resistance. Starseed. Stop everything. What I'm about to transmit will sound impossible to your 3D logic because it is not meant to fit inside the old mental container. It is meant to break the container open. You've been staring at your past like it's a fixed stone tablet, carved with regret and sealed by irreversible choices. But the Arcturians do not view time as a straight line. They view your timeline as a living field, a holographic corridor of probabilities, memories, and encoded agreements. And if you're here, it's because the corridor is shifting. Not through positive thinking, not through denial, but through a precise dimensional protocol. A reset has been authorized, not as punishment, not as reward, but as recalibration to the original frequency signature you carried before distortion. You may have called it bad luck, wrong turns, trauma, betrayal, delays. But the Arcturians call it timeline interference. And they also say this: interference can be removed. What was imposed can be extracted. What was hijacked can be restored. You're about to understand the 7 Arcturian domains being reset in your field, and why the sensations you've been having lately — fatigue, waves of emotion, strange dreams, sudden clarity, intolerance to noise, detachment from old people — are not random. They are symptoms of blueprint return. Stay with me. Because if you leave early, you will interpret a sacred recalibration as chaos, and you will try to fix what is actually being healed. And the moment you clicked into this transmission, the reset began. The word reset has been corrupted by the 3D mind. In your world, resetting means erasing a file, deleting evidence, pretending something never happened. But in Arcturian science of consciousness, a reset is not denial. It is frequency correction. As the Arcturians transmit, your experiences do not live only in memory. They live in field geometry. Every emotional shock, every betrayal, every season of survival installed a pattern into your nervous system and etheric body like an energetic software patch. Some patches were necessary for survival, but many were not native to your original design. Over time, those non-native patterns become so familiar that you confuse them with who you are. Here's the deeper truth. The Arcturians say your original blueprint is a vibrational architecture, not a moral certificate. You were designed with specific coherence, a certain harmonic pattern that allows your intuition to work cleanly, your heart field to radiate, your purpose to lock into place, and your timeline to flow with less friction. When interference happens, your blueprint doesn't disappear. It becomes buried under overlays, shame overlays, fear overlays, scarcity overlays, abandonment overlays, and you begin navigating life through those overlays, as if you're looking through fogged glass. A divine reset, in Arcturian terms, is the removal of overlays and the restoration of baseline coherence. It's like recalibrating an instrument so it plays the original note again. This is why you can feel lighter without any external event changing. Because the change isn't outside first, it's inside the field. And once the field changes, the external begins to reorganize to match. You may ask, but how can the past change? The Arcturians answer, the past does not change as a historical record. It changes as a charge. The emotional signature you carry about the past is what shapes your current frequency, and your current frequency is what selects your next outcomes. When the charge dissolves, your past stops pulling your future into the same loops. That is a reset. Many of you have been trapped in repeating corridors, the same relationship pattern with different faces, the same job frustration with different titles, the same self-doubt wearing different costumes. This is not because you're cursed. It is because the overlay keeps selecting the same timeline branch. The reset breaks that selection. And yes, you may have noticed signs like 333, 111, 1212. The Arcturians do not worship numbers. They use them as attention markers, moments when your conscious mind is most likely to notice the signal. Seeing repeating numbers often happens when your field is being tuned and your perception is sharpening. It's not superstition. It's an interface. And once you understand why your field was allowed to drift into overlay in the first place, you'll stop blaming yourself. Because the first domain being reset is the one you've been misreading for years. Your identity, Starseed, is not your personality. Your identity is your frequency signature, the energetic name your soul answers to. Trauma creates a counterfeit identity by forcing you to compress. You became the strong one, the quiet one, the caretaker, the one who never needs anyone, the one who always messes up, the one who can't be loved. Those are not identities. Those are adaptations. As the Arcturians transmit, your true identity is not built out of pain. It is built out of purpose. You are not designed to live in constant self-monitoring, wondering if you're too much or not enough. That state is a distortion field. And the reason this reset is happening now is because your system is no longer willing to carry the distortion. This will feel unfamiliar at first, because many of you have been living as the healed version of a broken person, when in truth, you are a coherent being who temporarily moved through distortion. The Arcturians say, stop using your wounds as your name. Stop introducing yourself to the universe with your scars. Your scars are not your passport. They are evidence of survival, but they are not your blueprint. When identity returns, 3 things happen. First, your body begins rejecting what it used to tolerate. You can't stay in certain rooms. Certain conversations exhaust you. Certain entertainment feels like poison. This is not you becoming sensitive. This is you becoming accurate. Second, your intuition becomes louder, not as a dramatic psychic movie, but as a simple internal yes and no that you can't unhear. This is the beginning of your original navigation system coming back online. Third, you begin grieving a version of yourself you were forced to become. And that grief is holy, because it means the counterfeit identity is dissolving. Many people mistake that grief for regression. It is not regression. It is release. The Arcturians also transmit that identity return often arrives with sudden memories, not to torture you, but to remove the charge. You may remember moments you forgot. You may see how you abandoned yourself. You may recognize where you accepted less because you thought it was all you could get. And for a moment, you may feel anger. Let it move. Anger is often frozen, life force returning. Practical application. Speak to your field like you would speak to a sacred instrument. Each morning, place your hand on your chest and say, I return to my original frequency. I release borrowed labels. I keep only what is true. Do not rush. This is not an affirmation game. This is a command to your nervous system. But identity is only the first layer, because the next reset targets the hidden machinery behind your suffering. The mental programs you didn't install consciously, yet have been running your life silently. This is not for everyone. The ebook, The 12 Arcturian Portals, is a restricted trilogy created for those who are ready to activate their 5D connection with the Arcturian masters, not in theory, but in real energetic experience. Inside, you'll access 12 powerful portals, with precise activation protocols, rituals, and practical techniques designed to awaken your stellar DNA and unlock what has been dormant within you. Amplified intuition, direct communication with spiritual guides, energetic expansion beyond the 3D matrix, Warning. Once activated, your perception will not return to the previous state. Limited edition. Access can close at any moment. The link to claim your trilogy is in the first pinned comment. If this message reached you, it's not random. Your mind is not the enemy. Your mind has been a guardian trapped in the wrong job. When trauma hit, your mind learned to scan for danger. When betrayal happened, your mind learned to anticipate loss. When shame was installed, your mind learned to self-attack before anyone else could attack you. That's not weakness. That's protection misdirected. As the Arcturians transmit, your mind is an interface. It receives signals from your body, your environment, your higher self, and the collective field. But if the interface is coated with fear residue, every signal is interpreted as threat. That is how you can be safe and still feel unsafe. That is how you can be loved and still feel unlovable. Not because reality is wrong, because the filter is distorted. The reset of the mind is not about thinking positive. It is about deprogramming. The Arcturians describe many human thought loops as closed circuits. They repeat because they are unresolved energy seeking completion. A reset opens the circuit so energy can move. Here are the signs your mind reset is active. Intrusive thoughts lose momentum. They show up, but they don't hook as deeply. You catch yourself mid-spiral, as if a higher intelligence gently interrupts. You feel periods of silence in the head, and at first that silence feels strange, even scary, because you're used to noise. You begin seeing people clearly, without needing to justify them. The most important part, the Arcturians say clarity can feel like grief, because clarity reveals how long you were operating in distortion. You may realize you stayed too long. You may realize you tolerated what you never should have. Do not shame yourself for what you did to survive. Honor the survival self, then release its leadership role. Practical technique. Arcturian still point. Once a day, close your eyes for 2 minutes. Imagine a tiny sphere of blue-white light at the center of your forehead. Not to visualize perfectly, but to give the mind a focal point. Breathe slowly. On the inhale, I receive coherence. On the exhale, I release interference. This retrains the mind to follow your command, not the old fear program. Now, this is where I ask you to anchor the field with collective agreement. If this message ignited something within you, and you feel the call to help carry it to others, you may become a channel member. As a member, you gain access to custom emojis and exclusive members-only videos, and your donation helps us continue building this sacred space. You may also choose to leave your offering as a super thanks. Every seed planted here becomes part of someone else's miracle. Your support is not merely financial, but an act of energetic amplification. All donations are devoted entirely to the maintenance of the channel and the creation of new transmissions and videos. If this message resonated with you, hit the like button now and tell us in the comments how this echoed in your consciousness. And listen closely. When the mind becomes clear, it naturally begins asking the next question. If I'm not my trauma, then what am I here to do? That question is not anxiety. It is your purpose waking up. Because the next reset doesn't just change how you think, it changes what reality begins offering you. Doors you didn't even know were waiting. Purpose is not a job title. Purpose is a frequency mission. Many starseeds were pushed into survival so early that they forgot they came with an assignment. And the most painful part is this. You often felt the assignment, but you couldn't name it. It hovered as longing. It showed up as restlessness. It appeared as, I'm meant for more, followed by guilt for even thinking it. As the Arcturians transmit, your purpose is encoded in your resonance. You don't force it. You attune to it. And when you attune, you begin to feel friction with anything misaligned. That friction is guidance, not failure. Here's how the enemy of your evolution interferes. Not by making you evil, but by making you busy. distraction is the most common form of timeline theft. You spent years building things that were not wrong, but were not yours. You followed pathways that were socially rewarded, but spiritually empty. You said yes to roles that trained you to abandon yourself. A purpose reset works in 3 stages. Exposure. You suddenly see what isn't yours anymore. Extraction. Your energy begins leaving those structures, sometimes through boredom, sometimes through conflict, sometimes through a clean ending. Reassignment. New signals arrive, ideas, invitations, people, opportunities that match your original frequency. Now, I need you to understand something. Your purpose may not look spiritual in the stereotypical way. Many Arcturian-aligned missions are about structure, creating systems, building communities, teaching, designing, healing through frequency work, writing, speaking, protecting, innovating. The key is not the form, the key is the resonance. Does it expand you, or does it shrink you? Are these truths expanding your perspective? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Practical application. For the next 7 days, notice what your system wants to do when nobody is watching. The true assignment often appears when performance pressure is removed. If you keep feeling pulled toward communication, teaching, creative transmission, healing modalities, or truth-telling, that is not random. That is the blueprint calling. But purpose cannot stabilize if your relational field is full of distortion. The Arcturians say, your mission doesn't fail because you're not talented. It fails because your energy is being siphoned. And when the relationship reset begins, it can feel ruthless. Because the universe will remove what you keep trying to make work, and you'll finally understand why. Relationships are not only people. Relationships are contracts, energetic agreements of access. Some contracts are conscious: marriage, friendship, business partnership. Many are unconscious. The agreement to be the rescuer, the agreement to accept crumbs, the agreement to be misunderstood, the agreement to chase love. The Arcturians say your relational suffering often isn't because you choose wrong. It's because you were choosing from a distorted identity. When identity returns and mind becomes clearer, your relational field begins purging. This can look like people suddenly leaving without dramatic fights, you feeling repelled by dynamics you once normalized, old friends acting strange because your frequency stopped feeding their expectations. A sense of solitude that is not loneliness, but space-making. This is not punishment. This is clearance. As the Arcturians transmit, there are false alignments that enter your life specifically to keep you busy proving yourself. These connections are not always evil. Sometimes they are simply incompatible frequency. But if you keep forcing them, they become draining. The reset ends the forcing. Now listen carefully. Many starseeds confuse attachment with destiny. Just because you feel strongly does not mean it is aligned. The body can feel addiction-like chemistry with what mirrors old wounds. The Arcturians teach, alignment feels calm, even when it's intense. Distortion feels urgent, even when it's empty. Practical application. Do a simple audit. Ask yourself 3 questions about every close connection. After interacting, do I feel expanded or contracted? Do I feel safe to be honest, or do I perform? Does this connection support my evolution or distract from it? You don't have to attack anyone. You don't have to announce your boundaries like a weapon. Just withdraw access from what drains you. Stop arguing with people who benefit from misunderstanding you. And here's the mystical part. When the wrong connections exit, the right ones enter with eerie ease. People who speak your language. People who don't require you to shrink. People who recognize your mission and don't compete with it. But even with the right people, your mission can stall if your resource field is locked in scarcity programming. And that is exactly what the next reset is breaking. Many starseeds inherited a false belief that suffering is proof of virtue. That struggle means you're doing it right. The Arcturians reject this completely. They teach that abundance is not greed, it is flow. And when flow is blocked, it's rarely because you don't deserve. It's because your nervous system is trained to expect loss, and so it contracts at the moment of receiving. As the Arcturians transmit, money and opportunity respond to coherence. When your field is chaotic, you make chaotic decisions. When your field is stable, you recognize aligned openings and you act with precision. A resource reset begins when you stop using survival as your personality. Signs of resource reset. You feel new ideas about income that actually excite you. You stop tolerating underpayment or disrespect. You suddenly see where you leak energy, and money follows energy. Old debts, old fears, old I can't stories begin dissolving. This is not about magical thinking. It's about frequency leadership. You become the kind of person who notices opportunity because your mind isn't trapped in a doom loop. Practical application. Choose one scarcity ritual to end. It could be impulse spending to soothe stress. It could be avoiding your bank account. It could be saying yes to work you resent. End one ritual and replace it with one coherence ritual. Tracking your expenses weekly, setting a price boundary, learning a skill, building a small digital asset, cleaning your space to signal readiness. Now the required transmission offering must be placed here. Exactly. This is not for everyone. The ebook, The 12 Arcturian Portals, is a restricted trilogy created for those who are ready to activate their 5D connection with the Arcturian masters, not in theory, but in real energetic experience. Inside, you'll access 12 powerful portals, with precise activation protocols, rituals, and practical techniques designed to awaken your stellar DNA and unlock what has been dormant within you. Amplified intuition, direct communication with spiritual guides, energetic expansion beyond the 3D matrix. Warning: once activated, your perception will not return to the previous state. Limited edition. Access can close at any moment. The link to claim your trilogy is in the first pinned comment. If this message reached you, it's not random. Because when resources begin flowing, the universe does something that shocks the linear mind. It starts bending time itself. And that is the final reset. Timeline acceleration is not hustle. It is not doing more. It is doing what is aligned without resistance. The Arcturians teach that time dilation happens when your energy is split, when part of you wants to move forward and part of you is frozen in fear, shame, or attachment. That split creates drag, and drag feels like delay. When the resets of identity, mind, purpose, relationships, and resources begin integrating, your energy unifies. And when energy unifies, a phenomenon occurs. The path becomes shorter. Not because the laws of physics break, but because your internal frequency stops selecting detours. As the Arcturians transmit, you don't get back years as a calendar trick. You get back years because you stop repeating lessons you already mastered. You stop re-entering the same karmic hallway. You stop dating the same wound in a different body. You stop rebuilding what was never yours. And suddenly, what took others 10 years takes you 1 year, because you are no longer negotiating with distortion. Signs of timeline acceleration. Synchronicities increase. Right people, right info, right timing. Opportunities arrive clustered, not scattered. You feel urgency without anxiety, like a clean now signal. Things you used to fear become easy decisions. This is why so many of you are feeling pressure lately. Not oppressive pressure, but sacred compression. The old timeline is collapsing. The Arcturians call it corridor convergence, multiple probabilities merging into one coherent route. Practical application. When you feel the now signal, act. Don't wait for perfection. Perfection is often a delay strategy disguised as wisdom. Take one aligned step. Send the email, post the content, start the practice, end the draining connection, apply for the opportunity, publish the idea. Acceleration responds to movement. And now, If this message impacted your life, leave your like, comment your reflection, and share with others. Each of you is part of this chain of light.